Welcome to the Day Zero update for February 15th, 2015. I am Filippo D'Onofrio.
I'm Patrick Meslin.
I'm Brandon Perkins.
And it's been kind of a crazy week this week.
Yes, it has.
And before we get into the numerous stories that we've got, we may as well cover what we've been playing. So, Patrick, what's been going on there?
Well, I'm still on the Ridge Racers 2 since I got the PS TV now, being able to capture much better footage than I was getting off the direct feed on my PSP, so I'm glued to that. Like I said last week, it's a game that holds up no matter how many times you play through it. There's just so much content. It never really gets old, and you can always get better at it.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely something to be said for it. The PS10 flash sale this weekend got me really bad. So, in addition, I am playing Ragnarok Odyssey Ace. It's been quite some time since I actually played Ragnarok Odyssey on the PlayStation Vita, so going back to that's pretty cool. Just a really nice, solid action RPG for those who appreciate it. And then, of course, there has to be some Guilty Gear Xrd sign on there because $24, there's no way I was going to pass that up.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see that on sale so soon.
Yeah. Well, at retail, it doesn't seem to have gotten around as well as it should have. And so that might be turning into a self-fulfilling prophecy on sales charts. I hope that's not the case. Because it's a great game, and our System Works deserves all the success in the world for it.
Yeah.
But, I hadn't gotten around to picking up a retail copy myself, largely because I hadn't been able to find one locally.
Yeah.
And so when they dropped it on the sale, I had to get all over that, and I'm really glad I did.
Yeah.
And I haven't actually cut the footage yet as of this recording, but that's definitely going to be the background game, at least for a good chunk of this podcast.
Okay. So that'd be pretty interesting. Yeah. I've been.
How about you?
No, Defense Grid 2. Can't really have to go through that. I've been doing a lot more experimenting with the Raspberry Pi while I'm still waiting for my Pi 2 to arrive. It's a pretty capable little emulation box, I gotta say.
Yeah.
It's SNES is a little bit sketchy. Some of the Super FX games are borderline unplayable. N64 games will run, but they're pretty much unplayable as far on the original Pi.
Well, quote unquote run.
They run, but you'd be getting frame rates in the single frames a second, so it's not a very good experience.
To be fair, I don't think that's the Raspberry Pi. I think that's just the N64.
No, that is the Raspberry Pi.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the Raspberry Pi. I'm interested to see if this new quad-core processor that the Pi 2 has will make a big difference. So,
I sure hope so.
I'll keep experimenting with that as when it arrives. But
so your Pi 2, is that just going to be like an emulation console, sort of repurposed?
Yeah.
Or have you got other plans for it?
Yeah, well, what I'm trying to do is have it kind of be an all-in-one media and emulation station.
Nice.
So I can have the Kodi Media Center on there and have launchers for the various Pi emulators. So that should be pretty interesting if I can get that all to work. And at that point, I'll look into GPIO solutions for original controllers. So
nice.
Those will be kind of fun. It is a pretty capable little, box as far as CPS-1, CPS-2, Neo Geo. It runs those quite well.
That's good.
Yeah, so that's nice.
There's some important stuff on there.
Yeah. That, and the game I started playing a couple of days ago, Transistor. Ooh.
You've got thoughts on this one. You brought that up when we were talking before the show, so how are you liking it?
Transistor is one of those games that it really grabbed me right away. First of all, it doesn't bog you down with any sort of preamble. It just throws you right into the game.
And more games need to do that.
Yeah. It doesn't overload you on tutorials. It'll just, pop up a thing here and there saying, okay, yeah, you could do this. And
it sticks to really pertinent information.
Yeah. It doesn't go overboard.
It doesn't explain the obvious. It goes into nuance more than anything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really love the setting of this game. It's like, well, as far as I can tell, it's actually taking place inside of a virtual world from what I gather. Or maybe not even a virtual world, but actually a personification of a server, perhaps.
That's been my view.
Yeah. But
From what I've been told, that in some ways you can kind of take it, you can kind of interpret it in a couple different ways.
Yeah.
And setting, by and large, is really Supergiant's strong suit. We're starting to see here.
Yeah.
Between this and Bastion.
Yeah.
Mm.
But there's a couple of things that really grabbed me about this game. First of all, yeah, the setting is exceptional.
Oh yeah.
The storytelling is remarkably well done.
Yes.
It is. It's all about subtlety. You've got that. You've got the voice of the transistor that leads you through, but the way that they integrate the soundtrack into the storytelling itself, that's remarkable. Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of the storytelling from Dark Souls, where they just, it's there. All the story's there for you to find it, but you got to go out and find it yourself.
Yeah. And the other thing that I really dug was their use of the PlayStation 4 controller's speaker to pipe the transistor's voice to you. That is a very subtle change, but it changes the context of that voice entirely. It goes from something that's something that's talking at you, it brings it into the real world, and all of a sudden it's talking to you, and it's a subtle change that just makes a huge difference. Yeah, I'm liking Transistor.
Yeah, I think a lot of studios forget that speaker's there.
Yeah, they forget that speaker's there, and well, I mean, it's been used in Resogun. That doesn't really add very much to the game, but yeah.
But it's one of those things that you kind of forget about until someone decides to use it again, and then it surprises you, and it kind of keeps it fresh that way.
Yeah.
That it's not something that everyone's just making constant use of.
Yeah. I mean, there's only certain ways that you could really use that well, and this is one of the very good ways. So, yeah, Transistor. If you haven't played it, go play it.
Yeah.
Brandon?
I'm still playing Dragon Age Inquisition. I'm currently made it to the Empress's ball. They're during the negotiations between Empress Celine and I think it's her brother, the Duke Gaspard. There's some sort of civil war going on, and everybody is very, very French.
Very French.
I'm not kidding. It's lots of court intrigue, lots of trying to, get secrets and scandals and everything, and using it to your advantage.
So it's turning into Game of Thrones, basically.
Yeah, it's... Yeah. There's also still doing Bayonetta 2. Haven't been playing that as much. I'm still mostly on Dragon Age. But the other day I went out and got Remember Me for PS3.
That's an interesting choice.
And yeah, and I gotta admit, I actually do kind of like it.
Well, there's there's the groundwork of a pretty good game there. It's
it's
some execution.
Great story. It's got it's got a great story. I love the universe they've created. I love the idea of being able to go into a person's memories and manipulate it. Have any of you guys tried to play it yet?
I played it a little bit since I got it as a PlayStation Plus freebie, so I played it a bit.
Yep.
But it didn't really grab me very much.
Okay.
I haven't touched it, but it's just been languishing on my PS3 hard drive ever since it was on the Instant Game Collection.
Basically what it is that when you go into a person's memory, because, okay, I gotta kind of explain the universe of this game a little bit. It takes place around, I'm guessing, in the 2085, and there's this corporation, I think they're called Memory Corp, who have developed this technology that allows people to record and share their actual memories. It's like I'm guessing it's like an implant or something they put like at the base of the cerebral cortex. I'm guessing that's what it is because there's like this weird like floating peripheral thing behind everyone's necks.
Yeah.
But the thing is because they have this this technology, they've got this big monopoly, and they have a lot of social and economic power because of it. And so there's this sort of, depending on how you view it, either one, a resistance group and or terrorist group called the Errorists, whose sole mission is to make sure that no one group has too much power with the use of this technology. And the character that you play is what they call a memory hunter. And the thing is, she has this unique ability that a lot of other folks don't have, which is that not only can she go in and steal people's memories, she can actually go in and manipulate them and change them around. And this is actually really neat because what it is it basically works like a giant puzzle when this happens. You'll go into a person's memory and then there will be what they call a memory glitch. And what it is you have to sort of like view the memory like a movie or something. You have to rewind it and fast forward it looking for these glitches.
Okay.
And you're trying to find the right combination of glitches that will change the memory around so that it'll have a different outcome.
Okay.
Like, the first one that you end up running into is this woman who's a bounty hunter who's got a bounty on you, and she's trying to get the money to help her husband, who has some sort of, I can't remember regularly, but it's some sort of memory, some sort of, he's like in some sort of coma or something. Okay. Like he overuses the memory stuff and it's caused like a reaction or something. And so you go into her memory and you'll see her, trying to share her memories with her husband in this contraption with this doctor sort of helping it along so that hopefully he'll be able to get back some of his old memories. And so what you're trying to do is that you're trying to change little bits and pieces of this memory around just enough so that the doctor accidentally ends up killing her husband. And then once that's over, she'll end up joining the Errorists. And, it's actually really neat. It's got some parkour sort of platforming involved, also sort of like Uncharted. And it's also got combat, which is mostly martial arts based.
Yeah.
I am actually enjoying it so far. I am pretty sure that there's everybody who's played has told me that the game does have some flaws that show up later on.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten that far yet, but so far I am enjoying it. But that'll actually sort of segue into our first little story here. Okay. You want me to just go ahead and explain it?
Sure. Sum it up.
Okay. Okay, so the game I was describing, Remember Me, that came from Don't Nod Entertainment. That's the same folks who are also behind Life is Strange, the episodic adventure game that's been getting some good press recently.
Yeah.
Don't Not Entertainment, one of its main co-founders was a gentleman by the name of Alain Damasio. It's a French company. Mm-hmm. Alain Damasio is a science fiction writer in France who's known for making some pretty... He's known for writing science fiction novels that are also parts of Transmedia projects. So his first... one of his first novel, which was called The Outer Zone, he had it published with a CD that came with like a short film, some music, stuff like that. Right. Anyway, there's this new company called Forge Animation that's running a Kickstarter on a Transmedia project called Windwalkers. And this is going to be a Transmedia project based on Alain Damasio's science fiction novel, which is called, hold on, I need to take this a look. It's actually one of the, considered by a lot of people I know of who can read and speak French, that it is like one of the most, it's like a must-read as far as French science fiction goes. Okay. The Horde of the Counterwind, that's what it's called. Okay. This is going to be a transmedia project. It's going to involve the video game, a animated film, and a graphic novel as well, all to tie in with the novel. And the whole sort of thing about the whole plot of A Horde of the Counterwind is that it takes place on this planet that's constantly being ravaged by these huge winds, like things like hurricanes and tornadoes or dust storms are like a common occurrence. And their whole technology is based around the use of wind. So like they use lots of hang gliders and wind sails to travel over deserts and stuff. The basic idea first of all, they're using the Cry engine. Which is a good thing because Crytek sure isn't doing anything worthwhile with it, are they?
Right now, no.
Yeah. And it's going to be an action RPG. And, they've got a good sort of graphics demonstration of what they're doing on their Kickstarter page right now, which looked pretty, I gotta admit, it looked pretty impressive. Even though it's still in the prototype stages. There's going to be a lot of action, they said it's going to be a pretty hardcore action RPG. That's what they're setting out to do. But like I said, they're also going to have an animated film called Windwalkers, which Alain Damasio, the original author, is going to be doing the screenplay, is writing the screenplay as well. Which I should also mention, Remember Me, the whole, that he wrote the scenario and the whole series Bible for Remember Me. So if you like the story for Remember Me, he's the guy you have to thank for it. This is actually one Transmedia project I hope actually succeeds, because it's really original. I'm very intrigued by the universe that they're proposing here. If we're lucky, it also means that Damasio's novel will get an English translation so we can read it over here. Yeah. The thing is, right now, this looks like one of those Kickstarters where they're asking for a certain sum of money so that they'll be able to get be able to create some prototypes that they'll be able to show some outside investors. Right. Because right now they're asking for about $330,000, which, considering what their what the scope of this project, I'm not sure is going to be enough for what they're looking out for. But that's why I'm saying this is probably a thing where they're trying to get money so they'll be able to go and show it to some investors.
Yeah.
I actually do hope that this succeeds, though, because it looks like something that it looks original, and it looks like something I want to see it work.
Yeah, well, I'm all for, unique sci-fi settings, so this is something that wasn't on my radar, but it's definitely on there now.
Yeah.
Hoping this
and as for, like I said, they're also doing a graphic novel, and remember, this is French comics.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about the French, they go all out when comics are involved.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's, if you go take a look at it, go take a look at their Kickstarter page, and if you want to support it, go on ahead. And I hope it succeeds.
Yeah. 'Cause this is one very, very intriguing setting. I'm hoping they can have some success with this.
Mm.
So from something that may happen to something that is definitely happening, we should probably talk a little bit about Dead or Alive 5 Last Round, which is coming out.
Yeah. On
Tuesday.
Who's this is going to
one?
be... Yeah, this is going to be my big return to DOA. I haven't really played it too seriously since back in the heyday of DOA 4.
Yeah.
Everyone's telling me it's changed
either.
considerably since then, but I figure just over the process of knocking all the rust off, it'll bring me up to speed on all the changes as well.
Yeah.
So hopefully that just kind of flows naturally.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
It kind of sucks that there's no real upgrade path for somebody who bought Ultimate on the last generation console and wants to go up to the Last Round on the Xbox One or PS4, but
yeah,
it's a little annoying, but oh well. I mean, at least the game is not a full $60 game, so...
Yeah. This actually will be the first time I've played DOA in a while.
You've got an Xbox One? Yep.
Yeah.
So, we'll do
that's the version we're getting.
Yeah, so we'll do some online stuff this week, hopefully.
We'll get a Day Zero update going.
Yeah. Any characters you guys particularly enjoy?
Well, I was an Ein main back in DOA 4, so I may follow that route just to see where it takes me. I've heard a lot of things about what they've done with Ein since DOA 4. But if the general idea of how he plays even partially translated, then I think I've got a starting point there. I also gravitate toward kind of MMA style grapplers, so I'm obviously going to be giving Mila a shot.
Yeah.
I like any of them with boobs. Actually, no, I don't really have much of a preference. I'm probably going to have to experiment with this a little bit before I find out which one I prefer. So
yeah, I'm usually an Ein player. At least I was until he got completely raped in DOA 5 Ultimate.
And it was actually your input that kind of informed my skepticism about how he may turn out in Last Round.
Yeah, well, I mean, his throw setups don't work anymore, so that's not good.
That's depressing.
Yeah, but at least Helena is just a beast, and that's who I usually main. So, hopefully they didn't nerf her too much, because she was pretty badass in
She's in line for some nerfs then?
Probably, yeah. So we'll see.
Alright.
We'll find out
really
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Alright, and guess from there we can go to the more Persona 5 information has come out.
Yep. In the wake of the whole big event that they did last week, there's been interview after interview, notably with Famitsu and Gamatsu. And pretty much the entire team has sounded off on this. We've got a lot more information on the cast, on the setting, on pretty much everything. it seems to, on the surface at least, to be kind of your by-the-numbers Persona game. But once you get a little deeper into the setting, it almost seems like it's going to be a deconstruction of it. Which is intriguing to say the least.
Yeah, so what's changed since last week?
Well, I don't know if I'd use the word changed. It's just things that we saw in the trailer or implied by some of the immediate information that got out there has been fleshed out a bit. There seems to be a much stronger sense of urgency regarding the plot. The protagonist is actively trying to prevent something from happening. And as silent protagonists go, this guy's going to be unusual because he's definitely got a distinct personality compared to what you usually get with your blank slate silent protagonist player avatars. The character designer, Soejima, has described his sort of surface personality, just kind of your typical Persona protagonist, as a quote-unquote profound ruse. And his persona is Lupin, so that...
Yeah, Arsène Lupin.
Yep.
The great-grandfather of Lupin the Third.
Yep.
That's...
Those of you who don't know who Arsène Lupin is, he is a literary character for a series of crime novels he originated from France. The famed manga and anime character Lupin the Third is inspired by him and actually supposed to be related to him. And it's just it's a really cool revelation. It is.
Definitely an unusual pick for a protagonist's main persona compared to past games where you've had, Orpheus and Izanagi. So this is definitely a change of pace from that. So I'm really, it says battle systems should be more of an upgrade to the Persona series than the jump from P3 to P4, which I'm happy to see. Shibuya is a central location for the storyline, but it will actually take you throughout Tokyo.
That's good.
Somehow the guns that we've seen in the trailer and everything aren't what you would call real guns, but they somehow work in combat. And we're not talking about evokers from Persona 3, so I'm not sure what they're on about with that. That'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll probably explain it at some point.
Whereas in Persona 1, you had characters leveling submachine guns like it was no big deal.
Just because they could.
Yeah.
But that might partly be that might partly just be a cultural thing.
Yeah. There's a pretty good 4-panel comic meme about that very thing. So
those of you who don't know, Japan has very, very strict gun control laws in effect.
Well, it's basically a completely disowned populace.
Yeah, it's zero tolerance gun control. If they even catch you with a knife, you can go to jail.
That's pretty harsh.
Yeah.
Well,
I bet they have a low crime rate, though.
They do.
Yes.
Japan actually has one of the lowest crime rates in the industrialized world. And that's surprising, considering the fact that, the organized crime has been a big part of their culture for such a long time. Yeah, they do have a surprisingly low crime rate.
Yeah. So I guess the Yakuza just has the monopoly on crime, I guess.
Yeah. Well, they're also pretty heavily involved in politics, too.
Yeah.
So.
But it is something that will be... I'm just completely lost here. I've just got a head full of cold medicine, so
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right.
here's to editing.
Yeah.
Looks like the persona transformation thing is no longer on the table.
Yeah, unfortunately, what we saw at the end of the trailer, I'm guessing, is just a prelude to a boss fight. Much like we saw in Persona 4, it was actually the protagonist's shadow that was turning into the persona. And so at first I was under the impression that if that was what it was, then this is one of the best trolls that Atlas ever pulled. And I said that jokingly to some people, but apparently that's exactly what it was, because it seems that Persona summoning is going to be much like it was in past games, just not using the usual evokers, tarot cards, things like that. I'm wondering if it's the masquerade masks.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty good way of going about it.
Yeah. But it also makes me wish that they were going through with the whole transformation thing all the more, because that would look awesome.
It seems like Persona 5 is shaping up to be probably one of the bigger games of the series.
Yeah,
one of the bigger games of the series, and one of the bigger games of 2015. I think it's going to be like Persona 3, where even if you haven't actually played a Persona game or a Shin Megami Tensei game in the past, this is something that's still big enough to be relevant and should probably be on a lot of people's radar.
Yep.
Look at it. So from JRPG, we can move on to something completely different. Well, I guess it is JRPG related, but Dissidia, Final Fantasy, is coming to arcades.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we thought we'd kind of heard the last of this series. It was interesting for what it was, but all indications were that they'd saw the experiment through, and make of it what you will. Apparently, there's a 3-on-3 version going to arcades. Not entirely sure when, but the trailer was pretty hype.
Yep.
And this is definitely something that I'm going to be paying attention to, because we need Smash Brothers has kind of been carrying the brawler banner by itself for too long. Power Stone has been on a milk carton for years and years. There's not been another Air Guys for a while, or actually Air Guys never successfully turned into a series. We need to get some more good brawlers in here, and Dissidia Arcade Edition looks fantastic from that point. I would love to see this step up and kind of get a really good competitive following, because it's a dynamic that hasn't really been explored yet, from what I can that I can think of.
Yeah. Do we know who's on development duty for this one?
I don't believe so. I mean, obviously, if Dream Factory is still around to any effect, I would assume that they were at least having something to do with it. But I'm honestly not certain. I mean, this just could be a new dedicated team, or holdovers from the people who worked on the PSP games. Your guess is really as good as mine.
Yeah.
But like I said, the trailer looks hype, and it's got Y'shtola from Final Fantasy XIV in it, so that's, what's not to love there.
It'll be interesting to see how they do this, because if they're going to do this as an arcade game, in Japan they're very fond of linking multiple cabinets together.
And they're going to have to now.
Yeah, so it would be 3-on-3 if each person has their own individual view and doesn't have to share the screen with everybody else. That could prove to be a pretty interesting way of handling it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When we say 3-on-3, we're not talking about Marvel vs. Capcom. We're talking about full-on 3 players versus 3 players.
Yeah.
And I think once it has its turn in the arcades, I think it could be a big console hit for Square Enix if they really execute it right.
Yeah.
I think it could be a a big hit on Xbox Live, PlayStation Network.
Yeah, Steam.
The fan base is already there. Yep.
Mm.
So I think they're really onto something, and this is automatically one of the most. This is going to be a game I'm keeping an eye on for throughout the course of its development.
Yeah. It's a weird time to announce it. You'd think they would hold something like that for E3, but
quite possibly. Maybe they're going to. I think at E3 we might see the entire concept. But then again, it is going to have its turn in the arcade first.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll probably happen over the summer, I'm guessing, and then as we get closer, as we start to approach the TGS, Tokyo Game Show, then we'll start to hear rumblings of a console port. And, as far as getting our hands on it on consoles, this is still very much a ways off.
Yeah.
And hinging on arcade success, I should also add.
Yeah. Well, if this is executed right, I don't see why it wouldn't be very successful in the arcades in Japan. At least.
I need this game now, honestly. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
something with
definitely look up the trailer and
check it out. Shoryuken has a story, as always.
Which means that the fighting game community is definitely going to be keeping an eye on it.
Yeah.
Even though I definitely wouldn't classify it as a fighting game.
Yeah.
It's more of a brawler.
It's more of a brawler, and it's multiplayer team brawler at that. That everything about this I love.
Yeah. It's a really intriguing looking game. Definitely be following it. Yeah.
Breathes new life into the concept.
Yeah. So from a fighting game to, looks like Peter Molyneux. Turtling. Yeah, Peter Molyneux.
This is kind of a common pattern with Molyneux, isn't it?
Yeah, except he seems to be a little bit more serious about it this time. Seems to be, after, Goddess is having issues right now where they can't implement the core technology that would make the entire premise of its game, work. He's apparently backing off and not talking about games anymore.
Yeah, and this is, they tracked down and talked to the guy who, was the winner of the whole Goddess contest. That whole, and he basically said, I haven't seen anything from these guys. But this is a pretty common phenomenon with Molyneux. He promises the world and he just can't deliver.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the gaming community all falls for it every friggin' time.
Yeah, well, we fall for it every single time because, we want what he's promising. We really do.
Yeah.
It would be great if at some point he could actually deliver, properly on those promises, but.
And there's always the room to believe that he can, because he is a legitimately good, brilliant gaming mind.
Yeah.
And so it's, whenever he talks, you've always got that reason to believe that, hey, maybe he can do this.
Yeah.
And, it sounds like a lot of this whole thing happened further down the chain than him. So it's kind of a shame that he got crucified the way that he did in the gaming media, but if this actually gets him to dial down some of his rhetoric and start speaking in more realistic terms, then I think it might be a good thing, but I just I don't want it to frighten him into absolute silence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the world where Peter Molyneux isn't, talking about stuff is kind of a not as fun a world to be living in.
Yeah.
He's just, I don't know, he's just got a very good personality. I like the guy.
I use the word exuberant
to
describe him. I think that's the best way to say it.
And the thing is, though, he's so exuberant, he gets so enthusiastic about what he's talking about that he has the tendency to
overhype. Horribly.
It's coming back to bite him here, and
But like I said, hopefully it just doesn't scare him into absolute silence because things are more entertaining when he's at least talking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we'll have to keep an eye on what happens there. Maybe the trail will be a game worth checking out.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Yeah. Some bad news for Sega.
Yeah, they've financial reports have come out, but generally speaking, it's been bad news for Sega, but there have been some pretty interesting insights involved there too. They're definitely seeing what systems not to invest in, what franchises not to invest in, and basically it has all of the information they need to come up with what I think is could be a pretty successful game plan moving forward if they think about it the way that I'm thinking about it, looking at some of the numbers here. I've got them in front of me. So from the beginning of second quarter 2014 through the end of the year, Sega spent $210 million on dev, which is more than they spent in 2013. Spent more on advertising, considerably.
Yeah.
Let's see. But the combined sales are now expected to be get this, less than 5.5 million units.
Oh.
Yeah, for all of their properties, that's not.
That is not good.
No.
So the main culprits are that Football Manager is in decline. It's just starting to taper off.
Yeah.
And
Sonic
Boom fell flat on its ass. I mean, we knew that from the beginning. Like pretty much the day it came out, there were all these videos just showing everything that was wrong with the game. This is what we call an unmitigated disaster.
Yeah.
The two games combined for less than 500,000 units.
Yeah.
And when you're, investing so much in development, especially in promotions and marketing, as Sega did for Sonic Boom, because they really got behind this.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that can be said for Sega is that they know how to get behind games when they decide to. They just got to pick better games.
Yeah. They got to pick better games, and it seems like they also have to pick better development teams.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the sales figures across those aforementioned less than 5.5 million are pretty interesting. That their biggest returns far and away were on PlayStation platforms and 3DS. So, with that in mind, I've kind of drawn up my own analysis, my own game plan, as for kind of a 5-point plan of what Sega needs to do in order to kind of right the ship. And after this, I'm going to ask you guys what you would do as well. In that position. Just a moment. I'm so glad you can edit that out. So the first thing I would do straight up is announce an 18-month PlayStation and 3DS exclusivity window starting in October. So you go from third quarter of 2015 all the way through first quarter of 2017, where you're not making anything for the Wii U, you're not making anything for the Xbox 360 or Xbox One. Just leave those systems alone. They've been inhospitable. You're going to sell games at a really consistent pace on the PlayStations, on the 3DS. So wash your hands of everything else until you've stopped the bleeding. In April 2017, you can revisit the situation, reassess where everything stands, what kind of installed base everybody has. But for right now, stick with what's working and only what's working.
Yeah.
Right.
Second thing they need to do is rebrand. And this is probably going to be a controversial thing. Keep the old logo around, of course. Make it a secondary thing, but I think it is time to bring in some new imagery, a new identity, and I think they should tap as hard as they can into the Dreamcast for that. Because moving forward, I think that's where they could be their strongest, is if they just let the Dreamcast kind of spirit of gaming influence everything that they do.
Yeah. I still have a Dreamcast.
Yeah.
They're great systems.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of great games on there.
Still games coming out for it.
Yep. So I would say just go with a blue Dreamcast swirl with the word Sega in the same typeface.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that could get a lot of attention just in and of itself.
Yeah.
Mm.
But you have to follow up on that.
Yeah.
Just a sec. Ugh. You have to follow up on that. So get an all-hands-on-deck IP initiative. Get all your studios involved. Sonic Adventure 3, by the numbers.
Yeah.
No gimmicks.
Yeah.
None of this trying to change things up bullshit. Make a 3D Sonic game starring the main three characters, and let the 2D games heavily inform the level design.
Yeah.
And just go to war with that. And I guarantee you'll fix the series in one game.
Yeah.
As for everything else, you've got studios that have roots in RPGs. You've got Atlas. You've got the teams that have worked on some of the Dreamcast, Saturn, early PS2 stuff. Put them to work. Phantasy Star 5, actual Phantasy Star 5, Shining Force 4, Skies of Arcadia 2. You can load up on those, and JRPGs are a genre in resurgence right now.
Yeah.
They never really went away, but it was almost like the entire industry lost faith in them for whatever reason. They're coming back now, and Sega has a chance to be a huge part of that. And so, get those involved. They've got the studios for it. Their arcade arm, get them working again. Outrun 3, Virtua Fighter 6, maybe a new Afterburner, maybe a new Hang-On. AMR&D, they're some of the best in the business. Let them do their work. And so, on the topic of Shenmue 3, I wouldn't say guarantee it, because it is a huge investment.
Yeah.
But I would say confirm Yakuza 0 for a worldwide release, along with Yakuza 5.
Mm-hmm.
Say, let's set a sales goal for them worldwide to prove that, if we're going to do Shenmue 3, let's go into it knowing that there is a market for this genre.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so build that by saying, hey, if these games sell well, we're definitely open to the idea of making Shenmue 3. So get through the releases of those games. If they sell, kickstart Shenmue 3.
That'd be a good.
Let that be the petition. Let people lead with their money.
Yeah.
And because money speaks louder than any petition ever will.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if people if Sega comes out and says, we'll give you guys a chance to save this series. We'll put this out here. We'll give you a chance to prove that the genre can sell. We'll give you a chance to directly have a say in whether we make Shenmue 3. But it's a two-way street. You guys have to do your part too.
Yeah.
I think that could be a huge phenomenon.
Yeah.
I think that could be one of the big gaming stories, if you will.
Yeah. It wouldn't be unheard of. So, then Sega could definitely do that.
How fast would the user base move if Sega just came right out and said, we'll give you guys a chance to save it?
Oh.
Yeah.
Those words alone would mobilize the entire fan base, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the people who really love Shenmue really love Shenmue.
Yes.
They will.
Yeah.
They will throw hundreds of dollars at that game, no doubt.
And I loved Shenmue.
And it also
I still got my copy.
Yeah.
it's also a brilliant way to market Yakuza.
Yeah.
Because I think they've done a piss poor job of doing that. There are a lot of people out there who don't even know that it's basically the exact same kind of game as Shenmue. But, I think if they knew that, then there'd be a lot more support for it among the player base, among the Shenmue fan base, and I think we'd already have Shenmue 3 by now.
Yeah.
If Sega was better at explaining Yakuza. So play up to that, So that's item 4 on my list. To bring it all together, though, is step 5. Wrap it in an E3 presser. Hold an E3 press conference this year. Just by doing that, you'll get people buzzing about what are they getting back into hardware? Is it the Dreamcast 2? And yes, it is kind of, but it's Dreamcast less as a platform and more of a design philosophy.
Yeah.
Hype it even better. Bonus points if they leak the new Sega logo in advance of the event.
Yeah.
That would destroy the internet. Just do that, unleash the lineup, show the Sonic games, the RPGs, the arcade arm, everything that, just revitalize everything that makes Sega great. Maybe put the Yakuza team, those guys have a background in that Shinobi reboot that happened, 13 years ago.
No, the PS2 one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Follow up on that. That was a great game. And that was actually indicative of where I think the character action genre should have gone. Let them do some work on that after they're done with Yakuza 0. They need to do everything they can to remind people why Sega is great.
Right.
And if they hold a press conference with a massive flood of software, and also keeping in mind item number 1, these would be PlayStation exclusives.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would go that route with Shenmue 3, but developing that would put it well past that 18-month window anyway.
Yeah.
But just by looking at the sales figures, their immediate future lies with Sony platforms. And the 3DS, of course.
Yeah.
And so they, if they just start announcing game after game after game, and there's room for new IPs in there, but, rebuild based on your strengths first.
Yeah.
Have that E3 press conference, show all these games, and just show that they are returning to the Dreamcast, not as a platform, but as a philosophy. And I think that could be an immediate and profound turnaround for Sega.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? I've kind of... That was a little bit of a rant, but I just really have thought about this.
Yeah. Well, as far as that goes, I pretty much agree with everything you said. As far as their IP goes, I think they need to go further. They need to, bring back stuff like, Golden Axe or E-SWAT. And,
oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know if they would do it at Genesis Anthology. That would be the, cheap and easy way to do it. But bringing back new titles in those, in those genres would be pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Streets of Rage.
Streets of Rage, yes. That one's way, way, way overdue for a reboot. I'm wondering if they haven't done it because nobody's been able to do a proper 3D beat 'em up that's actually good. So
I don't know. Sega themselves did. Die Hard Arcade, Dynamite Cop. They weren't very well received, but I thought they were fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't quite care for them too much. They were too slow.
Yeah, well, from a design standpoint, slow can be fixed.
Yeah,
very easily.
There's that.
The idea was there.
Yeah. So if they're going to do this platform exclusivity thing for the next couple of years, I think they need to start talking to Sony and Nintendo. Because this is something like this to rebuild Sega would require an infusion of capital that they may not have right now.
That's true.
Yeah. So
then again, they're going to have Persona 5 sales.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plus whatever else Atlas is doing, because Atlas is still part of Sega.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Atlas is still pretty successful. So
Yeah.
there's that. And,
Sega had the money to buy them.
Yeah. I do kind of wonder whether or not, Sega and Nvidia aren't doing something, for their upcoming GDC announcement. They've got something that they say has been 5 years in the making, and who knows what that can be. But maybe they've got, a Dreamcast 2 console actually coming, and they're just handing off the manufacturing rights and all of that to Nvidia and letting them handle the hard work there. So,
That would be interesting, and I would buy it right away, but it would also be kind of dodgy, because I think they would have to go out of their way to keep it as far away from the big three as possible.
Yeah.
Not only just to avoid offending first-party partners, but, if we thought the Dreamcast got caught in the PS2's wake, I don't even want to think about what would happen if they just stuck a toe in the water and ended up in direct competition with the PS4.
Yeah.
That would be an unmitigated disaster. But if they can do it as kind of a side thing, I don't know. It would be interesting to see, and I would support it just on general principle.
Yeah.
But
I'm thinking, Ouya, but done properly.
yeah, that would be fantastic, and it would definitely be the very Sega thing to do.
Yeah. So that's
And strangely enough, that's where their game design is very well suited.
yeah. So there's that, and that's pretty much all I can add to that.
No, that's it's a lot to think about for sure.
Yeah.
How about you, Brandon?
Well, what Patrick said about, bringing the Dreamcast back as philosophy, I think I'm completely behind that. It's kind of hard to explain to folks who weren't into gaming around the time when the Dreamcast was a force in the gaming world, but the Dreamcast and Sega at that time, it just led to a explosion of innovation and experimentation at that time. It was a pretty remarkable time to be a gamer. It has to be remembered that Sega Dreamcast's Phantasy Star Online was pretty much one of the first major MMOs to have a really major marketing, one of the first major online console games to enjoy. And it was an amazing time. It's unfortunate that the Dreamcast unfortunately got, sort of just destroyed by the PS2, but,
as I said, caught up in the wake of it, because, I mean, that there's really no better way to describe it, because it was like the PS2 appeared, and the Dreamcast more or less got, caught in its gravitational pull, and from which there was no recovery.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a phenomenal system, and I've still got a Dreamcast, and I've still got the first Shenmue, and I'll go back and play it every so often, and I'll openly admit the controls can be really awkward, but the sense of openness and the sense of just the sense of being able to go anywhere and do anything. Not even GTA can equal it. That game, Shenmue was part of what made it so awesome was just how intricate it was. They put so much into just every single little detail wherever you went. At the same
time, sometimes it feels like GTA and Shenmue were really trying to do the same thing, just in really different ways.
Yeah. I mean, in Shenmue, you could go into a store and you could pick up and look at pretty much everything in the store. I mean, literally just, food and pamphlets, and it was this sense of immersion that was just completely unprecedented.
Yeah. You could walk into an arcade and start playing games, it was...
Yeah. That was what... I fell down that hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The worst thing they could have done to me was putting Outrun in that game, and sure enough,
It's like, yeah,
Yep.
done.
they had
let you
space.
spend in-game money on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they put Space Harrier in there too, and I was.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
So that one got my mom more than it got me, but yeah, I like some Space Harrier.
Yeah.
yeah, but
That's another one I'd like to see revisited.
Yeah.
yeah, but my big advice to Sega, give the poor hedgehog some dignity and release a game that doesn't suck.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
that's
the thing, it wouldn't be hard to do that.
No.
look.
I mean, I kind
Okay,
of outlined
I've still
how.
okay. Like I said, I've still got the original Shenmue. I still have both Sonic Adventure 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Sonic Adventure 1, next to Shenmue, was one of my favorite games on the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
It's got its flaws, but that game had a sense of wonder to it that I had rarely experienced in a game before. That the moment you walk out of the train station and go into the city,
Station Square.
Station Square, and you hear that music in the background, and it's just that sense of holy crap, there's all this stuff before me.
Straight up Sega music too. I mean, this was
Yeah, great. It's great. That Sonic Adventure has probably one of my favorite soundtracks of all time, especially
I can hear
Sonic's
it right
theme
now,
song.
honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a flawed game, but for its time, it was so good.
Yeah.
And,
I think if they had taken the hub stuff out of it, or at least mitigated it to a degree, because I think parts of it were long-winded, but if they could have kept it to the action stages, I believe they called them.
yeah.
And mixed them up instead of taking the kind of Mario 64 path of just going through them and doing different objectives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they would have had a timeless classic on their hands.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. I have no problem with the hub stuff. The hub stuff was one of the things about the game I actually liked.
Well, I liked
was
it. Just in theory, I just think that I don't know. I think they spent just a little too much time with it.
They did. I think maybe the one thing is they didn't have enough action stages that were different locales. They just had different levels that all took place in the same handful of stages. Really.
Yeah.
Same handful of stages, just doing different things, and I think that played
Yeah.
against it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although to be fair, I really loved the casino stage.
Oh,
That was
so
with
much fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And in Sonic Adventure 2, obviously Sonic Adventure 2 will always have sort of a shadow over it because, well, shadow.
I see what
But-
you did there.
Yeah. But again, it still was a fun game. It still had great music.
See, I don't
You know-
dislike Shadow because I understand what they were trying to do with him.
Yeah.
They
It's just that-
basically
that
wanted to
they-
do over on the Knuckles character because they ended up turning him into just another one of Sonic's friends,
Hmm.
and they
Yeah.
wanted to have a character that wasn't going to be that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, but if my advice to Sega is if you release Sonic Adventure 3, take the good parts from Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. Okay? Sonic Adventure 2 had more stages. Sonic Adventure 1 had the hub levels that if you can rejigger them a bit and make them a little bit more involving instead of just
Walking
you
from
can
one
make-
place to another.
I'd
give it
say
some
make them more concise as well.
give it some personality,
Right.
And I'm just going to say it. Go ahead, bite the bullet. Go talk to the folks at Archie Comics and go dip into the Sonic comic book continuity.
That could be interesting. I mean, if they're really intent on having to do something different every time they release a Sonic game, why not go for the Saturday morning?
That's the Sonic Comics continuity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Princess Alley and all them. That's where they're from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
where they.
that's because they've got a whole very elaborate mythos right there already for the taking.
And I mean, it would. There's so much to it that it would probably prevent them from doing yet another reboot a year later, which for whatever
they've got
reason they seem.
I mean, you've literally got a whole franchise pre-made for you right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's already got so much in it that you could be making games for the next decade based entirely on it.
Yeah.
And just for the record, keep in mind the Sonic Comics and the Sonic Saturday AM fan base. You know, you've got a huge fan base right there that will be happy to just buy it, even if it's only slightly involved.
Yeah.
I mean, if they actually put Princess Sally in one of the Sonic games,
the fan base
pretty
would
much.
explode.
Yeah.
You've got $1 million seller almost guaranteed right there.
Yeah.
It's true.
So we fixed Sega. So
yeah, that and Sega, that one was free.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there.
Yeah, bullshit. We need to get paid for this.
Well, that would be nice too.
Yeah. So we fixed Sega, and it looks like Square Enix is fixing itself.
This is interesting. We don't have a whole lot of information, but they have re-upped their trademarks on the terms Squaresoft and Enix.
And this is something I said they needed to do a couple of weeks ago.
Whether this means that they're just rebranding their franchises under some of their original labels, or if they're actually thinking about spinning off a brand, let the speculation begin. But this is definitely an interesting move if it actually means something by the new team there under Yosuke Matsuda.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking there's a couple of things that could be happening here. First of all, they're setting aside their old brands for anthology re-releases, which may not be a bad idea. And to go along with that, their new IPs could have more of an identity. Back in the day, there were Square RPGs and there were Enix RPGs. The two didn't really meet because they were two distinctly different styles.
Yeah.
So if they get back to that, even if they're under the same house at the end of the day, it's probably going to be something good. At least you have
especially if it informs the game design on the games that fall under those labels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I certainly would like another Chrono game.
Yeah, I would like another Chrono game. But
Matsuda has hinted at that too.
I'd also love another Tactic Ogre.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I would love that.
I mean, the last Chrono game we had that came out was Chrono Cross, and, it had its flaws, but it was still a good game.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So we'll be keeping an eye on this one, so.
Yeah. So, Minecraft stuff.
Yeah, this one's in the what the hell category. So the Turkish minister of the family is going to be investigating Minecraft for alleged violence against women. Apparently, she's never actually played Minecraft because the creepers don't actually have any gender.
Yeah.
But,
No.
Well, I got my prediction about that.
Yeah.
They're going to find nothing objectionable, but 2/3 of the commission will leave severely addicted.
Yeah.
Hopelessly.
This is
write them off as total.
This unfortunately is kind of if you haven't been watching the news in the last few years, Turkey's government has been becoming increasingly more, not necessarily more hardline, but more religious involved, which can be a problem because traditionally Turkey's government has been extremely devoted to secularism over the few years for its existence. It's actually the one country in the quote unquote Islamic world that has been very strong with its commitment to secularism and separation of church and state and its government.
Yeah.
And that's changing.
That goes all the way back to Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, the founding father of the modern Turkish state, who, his whole philosophy, a big part of it was secularism. And it's caused like civil unrest and everything in the country too. But the reason is the Turkey in the last, it's had one or two times where it almost ended up becoming too religiously involved, and then the military would step in and dissolve the government, saying it had threatened the secularism of Turkey, and they just reformed the government anew. So, but yeah,
maybe that's about to happen again.
Well, the thing is that there's a lot of individuals influential in the military who are also pretty hardline religious too.
Lovely.
So, yeah. But that's it's just another factor of what's been happening in the country for the last few years.
Yeah.
Just a weird way for it to manifest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that, but I don't really think too much is going to come of it.
Yeah.
No.
Going from that to baseball, of all things, it's a kind of awkward shift, but we talked about the series a couple weeks ago on the show, but RBI Baseball, MLB has confirmed that it'll be back in 2015, and they're building much more upon it than kind of a bare bones release last year.
Yeah, and I didn't try the last year's game, so I'm not entirely sure if it turned out well or not, but, if they keep plugging away at it, I'm sure they'll get back to where the series ought to have been.
Yeah, it really needed probably another year to develop, because this was more of a nostalgia thing last year.
Yeah.
But not at a nostalgia price. I mean, it's still $20.
Yeah.
Which is probably at least $5 north of where it needs to be.
Yeah.
But it was kind of cool seeing it happen anyway. Just, randomly, here's another RBI Baseball. Have fun. And we do need a more pick-up-and-play arcade counterpart to the show. And then you've got your Xbox players, of course, who had no other alternative until RBI Baseball came along, because they don't even get the show. And so that was nice to see baseball fans who over on the Xbox get something to play.
Yeah.
But now they're starting to flesh it out some, and it looks like a much better game already than last year's. So hopefully MLB's onto something, because I like just the fact that this is even a thing.
Yeah. No, it's good to give players an actual choice of baseball games, because the past few years we really haven't had one.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's not to take anything away from the show, which is a magnificent series.
Yeah.
But
if you don't have a PlayStation, you're kind of
hosed.
Yeah. Yes, I know 2K still. Well, actually,
no, they're not.
No, they're not doing.
They're not doing World Series or whatever they've been calling it.
Major League.
Yeah, so. EA hasn't done MVP baseball in a long time.
Yeah.
So MLB The Show has been the only annualized baseball franchise for a few years now, until RBI came back.
Yeah.
And it's just too bad that Jalico has gone to being a strictly real estate company, because a new Bases Loaded would be absolutely glorious.
That might not be a bad idea either.
But maybe they might find themselves selling the name to a studio that'll use it. Who knows?
Yeah, it's not unheard of.
This could be the start of something.
Yep.
I'm kind of looking forward to that. I'm still going to pick up the show, but there's times I don't really feel quite up to getting into something that involved, so that's going to be a nice alternative.
Yeah. Next couple of stories we've got are on the Obvious file.
Captain Obvious, yeah.
Yeah. So the first one, let's see, EA saying that tablets will be more powerful than consoles by 2018.
Tablets also don't abide by 5 to 8 year hardware cycles.
Yeah, and tablets are, I would say actually it's probably going to happen sooner.
Yeah.
I predict 2017.
Yeah, probably about 2017. I mean, we've already got the Tegra K1 chip and the Tegra X1 chip that are coming out, which are, well, the K1 is out and the X1 is due soon, which are pretty much about as powerful as an Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So my advice would be to start, if you really want to stay with the consoles, start finding ways to integrate tablets and consoles together.
Yeah. It does make me wonder, though, if, like, since the hardware is going to advance so quickly on tablets, if AAA studios are going to move their games there.
I can see that being very limiting.
Yeah.
Not because of the hardware, but because of the user base.
Yeah.
There's a reason why consoles are still a thing. And actually, consoles are more of a thing now than they've ever been.
Yeah.
We're seeing record sales across the board almost, except Nintendo kind of lagging behind. But I think it's those 5 to 8 year hardware cycles that are the reason why people invest so heavily in consoles.
Yeah.
Because you buy a piece of hardware, and the graphics aren't going to get a ton better over the course of a generation compared to if you introduce a transition. But whatever liquid capital you might come into to put toward your gaming habit will go towards software. And if you're, if you've got somebody, I think AAA studios rely on that. Put it that way.
Yeah.
The reason that they can sell like they do is because you've got people just coming to consoles in droves, over the course of those hardware cycles. Whereas, if you want to turn around and start relying on people who only get the latest, greatest tablets, you're not going to be selling 5, 6, 7 million copies of a game.
No.
It's just going to go away.
And you're certainly not going to be selling 5, 6, 7 million copies of a game for $60 each.
Yeah. That's not going to happen. You're not going to be selling one copy of the game.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely going to be apples and oranges, but the hardware is probably going to overtake that of consoles sooner than later.
Yeah.
And I think that was just a matter of course. I mean, that's the tech industry playing itself out to a logical, cyclical conclusion. In other news, water is wet.
Yeah, pretty much.
The sky is blue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, which brings us to
fire is hot.
Which brings us to Michael Pachter saying that the Xbox One will probably stay at a $349 price tag.
Water is wet.
No shit, Sherlock.
The sky is blue.
Yep.
He gets paid for this? Really?
Yeah. He's learned more about the gaming industry over the last several years than he certainly did when he first became the kind of front and center game industry analyst. But occasionally you'll see the random bout of derp like this.
Yeah.
I mean, gotta love the guy, but maybe he just thought it was a slow news day.
Yeah, I think it probably was.
I just think it's funny. Yeah. If Microsoft went back to $399 on the Xbox One again, they would get crucified.
Yeah.
I mean,
that
is just not a price point that they're able to compete with Sony at.
Yeah, they're not going to go back to that price, especially since Sony may be selling more hardware, but Microsoft at the moment is actually selling more software. So as far as margins go, you can lose a bit.
That's where they want to be,
but they want to have the software sales to sustain that business.
Yeah.
There's that.
So, and going from the obvious stuff to do we want to call it comedy, farce? How do we want to classify this? Because it's something. It's definitely
okay. So this is an open letter from the League of Legends, community to parents, basically saying that, could you not have your kids disconnect from games, please?
Yeah.
This is a mildly sociopathic letter here.
Yeah.
And it's getting all the support in the world.
Yeah.
If you look at the thread, it's everyone saying, yeah, I co-sign this. Here. We need this to go viral, and sure enough, it has.
Yeah, but not for the reasons they wanted.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Let me just put it this way to you League of Legends players. This is why we hate you.
Yeah.
If your stats are more important than
life
and the well-being of somebody's children, you have priorities that need to be reevaluated.
Yes, you can gladly go piss off and die in a fire. Just screw you. That's all I gotta say. Look, and the League of Legends has already League of Legends is already notorious for having a very toxic community.
Yeah.
In just the worst ways possible. And this just is not helping your image at all.
No, nothing.
I mean, it wasn't too long ago that the Asian coordinators of the League of Legends on the women's competitive circuit were saying something about how you can only have one gay or one transgendered woman in your team.
That was just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. And they talk about, we're signing off game. It wasn't that too long ago that, well, if you had an internet connection, you couldn't even talk to someone on the phone.
Yeah.
So,
I just,
you little bastards are lucky.
Yeah.
So,
now they want to
some
make
of these
their own
excerpts,
internet too, so this is nice. That's nice of them.
I just have to go over some of this because it's hilarious.
Yeah.
So here's one where it says, the average game of League of Legends lasts over 30 minutes, many last close to an hour. When a game has begun, players have implicitly committed their time to each other until the game ends. If you have given your child a strict cutoff time for play, do not allow him to begin a game if he has less than an hour left. If a game is in progress, do not interrupt it unless it is an emergency. You are affecting up to 10 people, not just your child. Feel like checking your email on the same computer? Please wait until the game is over so you don't completely ruin things for the real people on your child's team. Is a game that started 90 minutes before bedtime somehow still in progress at 87 minutes? Please allow him to finish the match so you don't completely ruin things for the real people on your child's team. Games almost never last that long, and if people lose due to a teammate quitting after spending that much time on a match, they are likely to be more upset than usual. Wow.
Yeah, screw all those people.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, really. It's just...
I would try to retort to that, but I think Penny Arcade already did it better than I have.
Yeah.
Just go on Penny Arcade's website and look up the comic from February 11th, and you'll see it. See it said much better than I ever could.
Yeah, we've got it linked in the show notes, so it'll make that easy for you.
Wow.
Yeah. There are no words.
Yeah. Well, there are, but they've all been said.
Yeah. So I guess before we close off the show, there's something you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, I kind of want to introduce a sort of question of the week, whether it's to site content, podcast content, or even just game industry stuff. I really want to get a sort of dialogue going, a sort of conversation going, week to week among the listeners. And so, I actually,
we know you're out there.
Yeah. I wasn't able to do voice of dissent because you might be able to tell I'm kind of, under the weather.
Your voice is very quickly fleet.
Yeah,
the same thing.
And you're not even hearing the stuff that I'm muting myself for.
Yeah.
And so, this show is definitely being made possible in large part to Phil's editing ability, which, is not necessarily at my disposal when I'm recording on top of a game feed.
Yeah.
So I didn't do a voice of dissent this week. I will be back, next week with the last Suikoden episode, of course, before I move on to something else. But what I wanted to ask is for people who have been keeping up with that. Should Voice of Dissent strictly remain a sort of medium for criticizing popular games, or should I occasionally invert that to kind of dissent against games that are overlooked or generally disregarded when they're in fact quite good? It should,
I actually can get behind that 100%.
What?
I said I could get behind that.
Yeah.
I
mean, the original idea was just that I would be kind of pointing out that no, not everyone loves, this game. I certainly don't. But at the same time, I'm seeing a lot of games that are among some of my all-time favorites that just don't get their due. And it would give me a chance to maybe not be constantly negative about whatever I happen to be playing on that show.
Yeah.
The first example of one of those games would probably not come until well after the next couple that I'm working on. But it's just something that I'm kind of considering doing moving forward, and I'd definitely love to hear some listener feedback on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll start a thread on that on the Tumblr page as well as on the Smashpad Facebook.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely interested in hearing from you guys about that.
Cool.
So
I guess with that.
Yeah,
You want to say something, Brandon?
Yeah.
I was just going to say, there's definitely a couple of underappreciated games I can think of that would do great for a Voice of Dissent segment.
I could definitely see, alternating between, criticism and, exposing games that haven't been, really tended to in a long time. So
I think the potential's there. I just I'm interested in how it might work in the scope of the concept of the show. So if anyone out there has opinions about that, I would definitely love to hear them.
Also, here's another idea. How about when you have finished a Voice of Dissent segment, maybe have get somebody to come to defend the game.
Maybe
like a point counterpoint type thing.
I think that'll happen quite a bit in the comments sections. But
yeah.
I mean, it's something worth exploring at some point. The games that I've got laid out for the rest of the first season, I don't think are going to need that because the defenses for them are so well documented on message boards and throughout reviews that it might not warrant it.
Yeah.
But it's something that we could definitely look at further down the road as I move away from the Suikoden and Ocarina of Time and Final Fantasy VIII and move on to stuff more that's still very loved, but not as universally so. Not as, I guess you could say, not as ingrained in the cultural consciousness.
Yeah.
Like, up on the second season, which is probably not going to happen until summer, there's definitely going to be some tales of something going on the show.
Yeah.
Because I definitely have some issues with that series, and I know people love it, but I just cannot figure out why, and so that's going to be a major theme eventually. So, so that's something that I might consider doing, for that series in particular, because these aren't just games that I'm dissenting from for purely the sake of being contradictory. I mean, these are games that obviously have their followings for a reason, but I'm just not feeling it for whatever reason or other. And I'm not saying that I don't want to.
Yeah.
Right. So if, as I do these episodes, if people want to chime in and say, hey, this is what you're not seeing, or this, you just might not know about this, or so on and so forth. Moving beyond, what my tastes in gaming are in general, I would definitely be welcome to people trying to help me appreciate these games, because
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's not that I come out here wanting to. I don't go into any game wanting to dislike it.
No.
And especially since everything that I've played, obviously, I've invested my own money in. I would obviously love to see why it is that that people like those games and have that appreciation of them for myself.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm putting this out as a question of the week. So once again, should Voice of Dissent strictly criticize popular games, or should the concept be inverted occasionally to champion underappreciated games as well? Once again, you'll be able to provide feedback on the Tumblr page, sp-patrick.tumblr.com, or on the Smashpad Facebook page.
Facebook, or on the show page on smashpad.com too. You can leave a comment there as well. So there's no shortage of ways to get a hold of us if you so choose to.
Yeah.
So I guess
please, we need your internet money.
yes. Yes. Well, that sounds like we got a show.
Yeah.
All right then. With that, I'm Filippo Denolfo.
I'm Patrick Mifflin.
I'm Brandon Perkins.
And we will see you next week.
Ta-ta.